Welcome to another edition of Sports Talk. I'm Daniel Blake. Thank you so much for joining me. It is Saturday, April 29, 2023. That means the month is basically over. That's right. May starts on Monday. So time is just moving by pretty quickly, and time will move by pretty quickly here today on our show. Remember, we end at 2 p.m. And thank you to everyone who has tuned in on the various platforms, whether it is the radio, if you are on the island of lovely Jamaica, 101.1, all the way to 101.9, depending on where you are. If you're tuned in on the Love FM app, which you downloaded in the Google Play or Apple Store, if you're currently on your internet browser, love101.org, or if you're watching me right now on Facebook and YouTube on Love FM Jamaica's pages, thank you so much. Today is not our typical show, it is our special flashback feature, and today we'll be featuring sprint icon Kerron Stewart. She recently celebrated her 39th birthday, and she is one of our most decorated sprinters. So let's just get right into it, because it was a little lengthy interview, but one that I truly enjoyed. It took place just over a year ago, or under a year ago, I should say. Kerron is currently now a coach at the Spire Academy, and she's doing so much there. And we talked about that, her achievements in the sport, competing with and against Shelly and Fraser Price, and just a whole lot. So let's get right into it. Congratulations on being named a coach at Spire. I know that Spire definitely has one of the best indoor and outdoor facilities in the region, if not the world. How excited were you when they approached you, and what are your expectations going in?
To be honest, I was very excited, still very excited and just enthusiastic about this position and just with this facility and getting the right athletes. You know what we can really do here at Spire, because we have the right team. We have the right team to really do something great, but it's just getting it out there, especially in Jamaica and in the Caribbean and also internationally, just to let people know about this world-class facility that we have here, and also the expert coaches that we have, and just everybody who is working to make this academy, one of the best in the world.
Yeah, so when you retired in 2018, you said that you had a passion for coaching. Why? After going through all of that through your career, knowing the ups and downs, and even coaches who had to deal with you throughout your time, why coaching?
First, let me say this. There are a lot of days as a coach when I'm like, I need to call my coach and apologize. But, honestly, I always had a passion for coaching. Even while I was running, the passion really came about when I was at St. Jago. And I remember one year, my coach, he had to study, and we were on our own for like 2 months. And I realized that I had a motivation that the other girls didn't have, and I would like just come up with my own workouts, and they respected me, and they were like, okay, I'll do your workout as well. And that's where the passion really came about. So I realized in high school that I was so much more passionate about coaching than being an athlete, but I didn't want to waste the talent that God gave me. And I know that this is the route that I had to take if I wanted to become a great coach, because it is easier for me now to communicate with my athletes. And that's because of the background that I had as an athlete and just the experiences that I have gone through. And, just all the little things that I wish other athletes had said to me, "Hey, Karan, don't worry about this or do this," and it would have made life such more easier for me as an athlete. But the passion have always been there, and for me, it's not so much about just um, developing the athlete, but the entire person. Because once you tap into who they are as a person, what motivates them, those things, it plays such a vital role in who they are as an athlete. But I'm very interested in building the entire person, because one thing I realize now, I'm retired and I am left with Quran, right? And if my coach didn't take the time to develop me as a person, then it would be a different Quran sitting in front of you right now, and even a different Quran trying to influence and impact younger athletes now.
Yeah, I spoke with Corey Bennett, a junior coach here for Hydel and our national team, and he said, Brianna Liston, who is one of our rising stars right now, he says that, he has to constantly tell her to, stay off of social media and those type of things. And I assume that a lot of coaches nowadays have those issues because our younger athletes now have far more distractions compared to when you were coming up. Does that make your job a lot harder? And how do you adjust your programs around that? Or how do you tell your athletes, to remain focused?
Oh gosh, and this is what makes coaching life so hard, because we are like parents. So it's 24 hours. It's not just a 9 to 5, or when we see them at practice, it's 24 hours. So it's difficult because some of the athletes you coach are adults, so you can't dictate what they do on social media. But what I try to tell them is just be conscious of what you post, because things that go out there, funny enough, even when you're 30, 40 years old, these are things that people can dig up and say, hey, and these things can affect you. So just be responsible in the things that you post, and just the image that you put out for others to see, because it's gonna come back. It will come back. So just be responsible in what you post.
Yeah, I want to touch a bit on your career, because before that, I would say that breakout year in 2006, when you ran that 11:03, you had a very successful junior career, but you had a few setbacks, especially after that 2004 Athens selection when you were an alternate. You had a shin injury, if memory serves me right. And we know a lot of young athletes will get these type of injuries and aren't able to get to the level required to make it at the top level. How were you able to condition your mind and body to get to that level? Because a shin injury, especially for a sprinter, is sometimes could be career ending.
It can be, but I always say this: nobody's going to make a bigger investment in you than you. And the more you learn to, when things happen to you, is just try to learn. And that's what I did. So when I used to go to massage therapist or go to physiotherapist, I ask them questions. I try to learn, because one thing I never want to do is keep going back to them. Right? I never want anything to interfere with my practice, so I learn. I realized what they do when I went to physiotherapy. So I'm like, okay, when I go to ice, I started taking that responsibility upon myself to say, okay, ice help, right? With the recovery, it helps to in terms of like the pain that I would feel once I do certain ice. One thing I do is cup. I freeze a cup of ice in the fridge, and I would use it to massage my shin, and that would just help with the inflammation and just reduce the pain that I was feeling. I know a lot of kids now, or they go to medication, but for me, I never do that. I just try to go the natural way and see how best I can speed up the healing process. But I would say the most important thing is to learn your body. So I learned very early what I could work through and what pain that I need to stop, right? And when I need to recover. And I always had coaches who trust me enough to say if something is hurt, they will trust me and say, okay, if she says something is hurting, I believe her because they know my work ethic, that I wouldn't just say something is hurting just to run or shy away from a hard practice. So I learned my body very quickly. And when I got to college, now the resource was so much more free to me. So I would research, how to recover from a shin splint very quickly. And shin splint is one of the longest injuries. Well, I wouldn't say injury because it didn't stop me from competing, but it was very painful. So when I got to college, my coach, he exhausted every option to help me to get rid of the shin splint. And once I start understanding my body, and I just start playing around with things just to see what would help me to alleviate the shin splint. So I start, okay, I didn't wear certain shoe. I stay away from heels, stilettos. I try to stay away from those things because I realized it was making my calf and my Achilles very tight. And once I keep my Achilles and my calf loose, then I realize it alleviates the pressure that was being placed on my shin. So it's about being intentional, about learning about your body, learning about the sport, learning about recovery, because at the end of the day, it's your career and you have to take that initiative to make sure that you have longevity in the sport.
Yeah, well, you definitely recovered and recovered well because you were a collegiate star at Auburn, but in 2007, the world started to know your name. You went to the World Championships, made the final. You got the relay medal, but in 2008, you were the undoubted star, running some amazing sub 11 times, including that 10.8.0 to win the national trials. But I guess a lot of people will remember you for that 2008 Olympic final. Shelly and Fraser Price with gold, but you and Sharon sharing the silver. When you look back at that moment, even to this point, I know that you've spoken about it a lot, but would you regard that as maybe your, I guess, shining moment throughout your career, knowing that it was never done before and we haven't seen it since?
I mean, definitely. Honestly, my goal going into the Olympics was to win gold. And I remember they couldn't tell who came second or third. So on the screen, all I was seeing was amazing. Was just amazing. That's it. No, the only person that could truly celebrate was Shelly Ann because she knows she got the goal. But for me and Sharon, it took a little while to figure out, okay, we know we got a medal, but what color? And at that point, I was like, man, if I had won a goal, right, a lot of people probably would have, forgotten about it. But the 1, 2, 2, it made history. And it is just something that is remembered. So sometimes we think that we fail, but in a situation like that is just icing on the cake, even though that's not the color medal I wanted, but it is just something that will always be stamped into history and it will always be at the forefront of everybody's mind.
Yeah. And then a year after, you continue your dominance, but you are, even though Shelly is the Olympic champion, you are almost the one to beat, because I think a month before the World Championships, you ran 10.75, becoming one of the fastest women in history. Only, I think, 3 or 4 women had gone faster. And then in the final, you also run 10.75, but Shelley decides that she's going to run a personal best that day and get gold. Do you look back at that with more joy, knowing that you still have one of the fastest times ever, or do you have maybe somewhat of a regret, knowing that that was probably the closest you got to an individual goal? Because I think to this day, you are the fastest silver medalist in World Championships history.
Sometimes it's like a bittersweet because because I remember after the interview, they asked me and I was like, how do you run 10.7 and get a silver medal? Right? Like, how? But now I don't feel so bad because when you think about guys who are coming second and third in the 400-meter hurdles, they're running world record time and all they can manage is a silver medal or a bronze medal. And even now in the 100 meters for women, 400-meter hurdles again for women, can imagine Dalila Mohammed also break the world record. She got a silver medal. So I am more proud of the direction that the sport is going in and just what is happening. Like I'm still watching track and field and I'm like, wow. I'm just excited because now you see where it changes. I believe every 8 to 10 years there is a shift and a change in track and field where we just see some super stuff, things that we thought were not possible. But every 10 to 80 years we see that shift. Um, I am more so excited and disappointed, and for me I have no regrets. Honestly, now as a mature individual, I wish I could go back and run some races. Yes. um, just because like now in my training there is one rule I have that I do not compromise. My athletes have to run through the line. I don't care if you're at practice or you're at the meet, run through the line because I could have been in that 10.6, of female sprinters. But when I first run 10.7, I jog at 10 meters before the finishing line. I was jogging through the line. And that's because I didn't know. And that's the thing, you just never know. So if I would say I have any regrets, which I don't, those would be the things that if I could redo, I would do different.
Yeah. That period from 2010 to 2015, you still are very competitive. You make a lot of finals. You are part of or relay teams that set national records and stuff, but you weren't able to get back to that 10.75 range because of some setbacks that you had with injuries among other things. Was that a frustrating period for you, knowing that you weren't able to reach that level again, or were you just more grateful knowing that you are still able to go to these major games and at least leave with relay medals?
No, I'm gonna be completely honest. For me, my goal is never just to go to say, okay, I am a part of the team. No, that's not my goal. I want to go and I want to be the best. That's why I train. So yes, at times it was so frustrating, and it's not that I didn't have the ability or the talent or I wasn't getting excellent coaching. I just think I allowed the expectations and the pressure that I put on myself. I allowed that to dictate too much, right? So when I have a bad race, I didn't just say, you know what, this is just a bad race, just let it go, right? And I carry that over, and that is where a lot of athletes suffer, and not having also that mental coaching or just to say, hey, this is what I'm feeling, how do I navigate this? And I am so proud of the athletes now who can say, you know what, my mental health is way more important than me showing up at every meet and just living up to people's expectation. I wish I had the courage then, to say, hey, I need some help navigating all these emotions. I need some help navigating not being in the top two in the world. I need some help to navigate that. But at no point did I ever feel like I don't have the ability. It was just that I didn't, one, ask for help, and I just allowed the expectations to get the best of me in terms of like, okay, there is so much, you have your shoe company that is, they want that performance. You're also thinking about yourself, of course. You're thinking about the people who you're letting down, and which you shouldn't be looking at at your performance or the sport in that manner. You should always think about you and the performance that you're capable of and want to produce, and just let that other stuff be secondary.
Yeah. You seem to be very content with all your achievements, and as you mentioned before, you don't really have much regrets. I spoke with Sharon a few months ago, and I asked her if she felt that she didn't receive enough credit or recognition with her CV, and she said no, she didn't feel that type of credit. And knowing your very long CV, which if I read, we'd be here all day, presumably. Do you feel that you have gotten the credit or the respect that you deserve from maybe general fans, maybe companies, sponsors, those type of things?
Fans, I wouldn't say. I believe the fans have always been supportive. Um, to this day, I still get message. We miss you on the track. There's just something about you competing, but no, not from the fans. And honestly, the place that I am in now, I it would be nice that what you do is appreciated and it's acknowledged, but I do feel like it was. I mean, is I only think about it now when people bring it up and say, "Hey, I don't think you get the respect or the recognition that you should have gotten." And I'm not concerned about that now. I always believe that I run for God, and if I truly run for Him, then people's recognition is secondary. I am more concerned about His applaud.
Yeah.
But I will say this though, I I am in. I think that our athletes should get more support, because a lot of times everything falls on the athlete's shoulder in terms of spending the money. Track and field is a very expensive sport, and I think we just need to support our athletes more in every way that we can. We should support these athletes, because if we expect them to perform at a certain level, then you should be supporting them. However, they need that support to be successful. Or if you're not going to support them, then I always say you should not have a say or an opinion in what these athletes do. And I'm just going to voice this now, that I am in total disagreement with the J3, even thinking about taxing the athletes when we already get taxed so much. Totally in disagreement with
that. Do you think that's an issue in terms of not having enough former athletes on those types of boards? Because even across our sporting landscape, it seems that people who weren't actively involved in the sport are making a lot of these decisions without discussing it with the athletes. So do you think that we need more of our former athletes or possibly even current athletes be part of some of these decision making?
Yes, if we want to see change, I think we have to pretty much, and I'm just trying to figure out the right way to say this without offending anybody, because I know we are so easily offended these days. But I think we also have to take on that responsibility in saying, hey, if I don't like the way the sport and the governing body is handling our athletes, then if I can do something, I should, right? And a lot of athletes don't have the time to do it, but I think a lot of athletes before us make sacrifices so we could have the opportunities that we have. And we now have to start making those sacrifices for the younger athletes who are coming along. Because if we don't start doing that, then we're going to start losing our athletes. By the way, now we're going to say, okay, what happened to this person? What happened to that person? But did we take on the responsibility and saying, you know what? It's not just about the organization, but this is about our young athletes. This is about our young people, our future, right? So even though you might think that, okay, there might be a target on your back and you might not get the support, I think sometimes we have to be open to say, you know what, even though I might be criticized, I might be chastised for doing what's right, I have to do what's right anyway.
So you retired in 2018, and I don't really want to make you feel any way at all, but somebody who you went head to head with for a while, Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce, still running, and she's aiming to do 10.5 this year. Knowing that you went head to head, as I mentioned, 13, 14 years ago, how impressed are you by the fact that she's been able to continue this dominance and even elevate her performance, especially after her major toe injury and giving birth?
It's impressive. It's impressive, but I will say this. When God destined you to do something and you follow and you trust his plan for you, she is a living example of that in my opinion. And if I know her as well as I think I do, I know she would agree with what I'm saying. And also, there is nothing like a mom. Your determination, I believe, is just different. When you're a mom, it's different. And she now just set the stage in a different way for our female athletes to say, hey, I can have a child, I can have injuries, and I can come back. And this is what we don't give people. We don't like giving second chances. We dictate people's future too often. Like you can't come back from this, or because you make these mistakes, you can't come back. You can't be all that you're supposed to be. And sometimes we just stifle people's future. But I'm just so proud. Every time I see her compete, every time I watch her, I am like, I'm just proud. I don't know any other way to put it. I am just proud and excited and happy for everything that she is doing. You're talking about she's doing something that is going to inspire young athletes for a long time. And it's not just athletes, but women and young women, for a generation, a lifetime, if you want to go that far. But hats off to her. Utmost respect.
Definitely. So yourself, Shelly-Ann, Sharon, and Veronica Campbell-Brown, I would say, are part of the golden generation from that like 04 to to 2012 period. Now, when you look on our current generation of stars, like Elaine, who is doing some extraordinary things, Sharika Jackson, who just started doing the sprints already with one of the fastest times ever, Brianna Williams, Natasha Morrison, and we have our young stars like Brianna Liston, Kemba Nelson, the Clayton twins, and several others. How happy are you to see that we have so many of our young female sprinters being able to compete at such a high level?
I am excited. I've been telling people this for a while. Just give our athletes a chance to develop. Don't rush them, don't pressure them, just allow them to develop. And sometimes it is taken for granted because of how quickly we develop and we put athletes out there. It sometimes is taken for granted, but the future for Jamaica sprinting is very, very bright. I know the men are getting a hard time now, but just allow these young athletes to develop, because in the next 5 to 6 years, it's gonna be serious. Jamaica will, I mean, we're still on top, but we are gonna dominate in a way that is going to it's gonna be hard to say exceed what the generation like the Bowl, the Elaine Walker, the Shelly Ann, and if I must say myself, it's gonna be hard to top what Usain and Shelly Ann and even Veronica has done. But the platform and the stage is set for these women to just be phenomenal sprinters.
So, as you mentioned, you've had an amazing career, and you've achieved almost everything in the sport. What advice would you give to our young athletes competing now, or those in high school or even primary and prep school who want to achieve greatness like you did?
I would say be patient and trust the process. People always say, oh, you just showed up in 2008, but I always tell people this. My Olympic journey began when I was 12 years old, and every decision I made, or every decision that was made for me until I could make my own decisions, led me to the success that now we are talking about, and now I can be proud of. Just be patient, trust the process. It can be a long process for some people, and your process won't be the same as somebody else, but just trust your process. You have to be the last one to give up on yourself. You have to be, but you have to be the first one to believe in yourself. And don't ever give up on your dreams. Just keep working, keep working, keep working, keep working. Find the right people to influence you in the right way. Find good people. I can tell you, I will not be the athlete that I am if I wasn't surrounded by some great people. Find good people to be around. That's my advice. Once you could figure those things out, nothing can stop you.
Yeah. I don't want to keep you too much longer, but I do know that another passion of yours is football. I won't ask you about Manchester United because that might be a little painful for you. But was there ever a point during your career or even after retirement that you thought, maybe I could try playing football for the Reggae Girls or for a club? I know that Usain tried and it wasn't that successful. But did you ever seriously consider that?
Yes, I did. When I retired, a few sports reached out. Rugby, Jamaica the Crocs, they reached out, but I was like, no. if I'm gonna play rugby, I might as well just go back to track and field, competing. Soccer, yes, because soccer was such a passion of mine from such a young age. I said I wanted to, and because I wasn't given the opportunity, all my coaches was not supportive in me playing soccer, so I just gave up that dream. But when I retired, a friend of mine who is a soccer agent in Jamaica, he saw me playing around with a soccer ball, and he was like, what do you think about playing for a club?" And I was like, I will give that a try. But honestly, when I really think about everything, and I was like, no, I really want to coach. So an opportunity opened up in Europe for me to play for a club. And I originally said, yes, I would play. But when I thought about it, I was like, no, I just want to coach. So they gave me the opportunity to coach, hoping that they could persuade me into playing. But it didn't happen. I told them I would be far more effective as a coach than as an athlete, and I'm so happy that I did do that, because I told them if I was playing, I couldn't truly be a coach because I am so competitive as an athlete. I would put too much into being competitive versus truly helping them to be great athletes. So I shied away from that, but and did what I thought was best.
And another passion of yours, finally, which a lot of people may not know, is photography. I think that you like photography more than track and field. You can correct me if I'm wrong. But I actually thought that you would go into maybe having like Kerron Stewart's photo studio or photo company or anything like that. Is that something that you aspire to do in the future, or do you just see photography as like a hobby that gives you peace?
I would say it's more of a hobby, and it's just something that I think I'm just naturally good at. But honestly, I just want to coach. I truly want to coach, like thinking of ideas and ways to help young athletes or just athletes on a whole get better. Those things keep me up at night. Those things wake me up. My love for photography doesn't do that. And I know that I love photography, but I know what my purpose is. And I I know that I have to live my purpose, because this is truly a part of what I am here to do, I believe. So that is what I want to do. But of course, photography is my peace. When I want to get some peace, or just, and I have to be inspired too. I can't just go out and just take pictures. I really have to be inspired, because I could take 1,000 pictures and don't like any. So I truly have to be inspired to do it. But track, I don't have to be inspired to do it. It is just in me to just coach.
Yeah, well, Kerron, we hope that you continue living out your passion and your dreams. We Jamaicans, we really love you, and we respect you, and we love your career, and wishing you all the best, especially with the new job. And maybe a couple months down the line, we'll be able to talk to you again to see how it's going.
Yeah, sure. And if I may, I know this new job and just the facility on a whole is just remarkable. And I know we're having a lot of summer camps, and if parents are interested in just giving their kids this world-class experience, it's definitely one that I think they should do. It's not just track and field, but it's just a whole lot of things that we do: mental training, help them to prepare for SAT, all of that stuff, everything, nutrition, everything is covered, mind, body, and your ability to or your passion, it's covered here at Spire. So parents, if you're interested, get my contact information. You could go on our site. The site is spireinstitute.org. So you could check us out and let your kid be coached by an Olympian.
That was Jamaican sprint star Kerron Stewart. Such an inspiration for what she has done on the track for herself and what she's doing right now. We go into a break, and when we come back, more sports talk.
Just a reminder that Sports Talk is brought to you by Jamaica Customs Agency, Country Above Self.
Every time my son send the liquor barrel for me have to go sit down and waff all day like me have nothing else to do. No, sir, me no fear do this.
Tired of spending all day at the wharf to clear your barrel?
Driver, turn up that the little bit for me there.
Starting May 1, use contactless clearance to clear your non-commercial shipments and avoid the long wait. Call Jamaica Customs today at 876-922-51408 or email contactlessclearance@jca.gov.jm.
But God goody, me I go call customs and learn about the contactless clearance. Help me out.
Less waiting, more convenience. Try Customs contactless clearance today.
Well, if you want buy appliances for your home with the quality high and the price low, get it on a Bashco. Get it on a Bashco. 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 Be everything where you need. Bash quality service guaranteed and a Bashco. Bashco. That gives you more. Yeah, Bashco. Get furniture for your house, and linen everything for your kitchen, rocks, smokes, and more at Bashco. The store that gives you more. Bashco.
Many of our brothers and sisters lose hope when diagnosed with HIV. Some lose their will to continue being a part of society. Others are despaired by the challenges of keeping up with their treatment. We understand. But remember, people with HIV live normal and progressive lives every day. You can too if you get back on track with your HIV treatment. Live for you, live for someone, live for something.
Get back on track, get back to life.
A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
There's certain moments in life you'll cherish forever. Like buying your first car, stepping into your first home, sending your child to university, starting that business you've always dreamed of. These are your great moments, and helping you achieve them is ours. Call Chris and Charles today. We have a loan for all the great moments in your life. Powering great moments since 1992. When you think loans, think Chris and Charles.
Every time my son send the liquor barrel for me have to go sit down and waff all day like me have nothing else to do. No, sir, me no fear do this.
Tired of spending all day at the wharf to clear your barrel?
Driver, turn up that the little bit for me there.
Starting May 1, use contactless clearance to clear your non-commercial shipments and avoid the long wait. Call Jamaica Customs today at 876-922-51408 or email contactlessclearance@jca.gov.jm.
But God goody, me I go call customs and learn about the contactless clearance. Help me out.
Less waiting, more convenience. Try Customs contactless clearance today.
The Sports Talk here on Love 101, the family station. This is our final segment, and since we are flashing back, let's flash back to another special feature because Jamaican Courtney Walsh, he was devastating for the West Indies with his pace bowling, but he also had a great partner in Curtly Ambrose. They did an interview together a few years ago and spoke about some of their historic moments.
That's it. Curtly Ambrose strikes once more. Emotional moment for one of the most admired cricketers in the history of the game, Courtney Walsh.
It's an absolute honour to speak to two legends, Courtney Walsh and Curtly Ambrose, with a combination of 924 Test wickets apiece. Do those figures make you feel slightly awkward?
Quite frankly, it's not enough.
We were robbed.
Yeah, he fell short.
No, both of us fell short.
You don't really have to ask me. There are a lot of opposing batsmen that you can ask that question.
Ambrose and Walsh will go down as one of the finest opening ball partnerships the game's ever seen.
Two of the all-time greats, not just in the volume of wickets they took, but where they took the wickets, the sort of averages that they took those wickets out.
That is the start.
And a team that was on the decline. You know, you got to remember all the great names in fast bowling that we had. Malcolm Marshall, Michael Holding, Andy Roberts, Joel Garner. When they all left suddenly, almost at the same time, within like a 5-year period, Kirtley and Courtney stood out.
They were very good. It was so difficult for teams to play against that.
You only start to captain when one of them or both of them stop bowling. Then your job as a captain starts, as in who to what field. With them, it's easy, you just chuck on the ball. They tell you what they want and they deliver.
Gone. Now then, game on.
Walsh, with his tail up, he used to get really aggressive, quite an intimidating bowler to face.
Had great skills, always looked as though he's angling the ball in at you. And then you just get it to hold up, and that's where it brings the outside edge in the keeper and slip cord. And Ambrose, I mean, he just never bowled a bad ball.
He's got him. Curtly Ambrose struck again.
He was just relentless in the way that he sort of worked on a good length. Obviously got good bounce, had enough pace.
Curtly had something special about him. You know, his delivery, the way he put the ball on the wicket, how the batsmen shaped up against him. You can see some sort of intimidation. You can see them not being relaxed. And it was just nice standing at first slip, and just, you know, accepting everything that come in my direction.
Because they bowled together for so long, there was almost a rhythm. Vibe, telepathy, whatever you want to call it. When one was struggling on a day, the other one was always happy to step up, bowl more overs, fill in a gap until the other one got back to his best. Just the fact that they were willing to bowl for each other just made it, on top of the skill factor, made it a very good partnership.
And LBW. Atherton has gone and Walsh has 4.
Kirtley and Courtney pull us out of so many different difficult situations. And I remember one very vividly, playing against South Africa in 1992 in Barbados. And we had a meeting the night before the last day, and they only needed, I think, 140 something, if so much. Kirtley and Courtney stood up and said, if we're going to lose this match, we're going to lose the match with the ball in our hands. Next morning, Kirtley and Courtney wrapped up the entire South African team. That, for me, I remember that was one of the best test matches that I've ever played in.
I don't know if I can ever say I enjoyed playing quick bowling, but I certainly enjoyed the challenge, and those two were right up there with the very, very best.
It was great. It's just to be on the field and watching two great performers doing the thing. You know, 9 times out of 10 being successful at it. It was good to watch.
They had Walsh and Ambrose, who were two fine fast bowlers. I think it was a great asset for West Indies cricket.
I remember the two of them walking off the field at the Oval when everybody knew that was going to be the last test match that they played, and they walked off together, standing ovation. There was a tear in my eyes as they walked off. Just two very proud men. I mean, that was one of the things that came through with those two, the real pride they had in not only their performance, but representing the West Indies.
Got very good catch. 499 it is for Courtney Walsh.
Courtney, 519 test wickets. On the verge of 500 in Trinidad, you called your mate to get on a plane to come and watch you take your 500. What happened?
Yeah, I was very busy when he rang me up. And you know, he made his Jamaican thing. Hey, big man, you must come Trinidad, 500 wickets. I said, well, Courtney, I'm kind of busy. He said, no, you got to come. So I went to Trinidad, spent a few days in Trinidad. Had to leave Trinidad, still on 499. So I wasn't there for the 500, so I wasted my time really.
But it happened in Trinidad though, he just didn't have the patience to wait.
The There was a bit of a delay.
You know, when you get to those milestones, sometimes it just seems to take forever. It wasn't as bad as my 300, but it was a long way.
Of course, you and Curtly Ambrose will always be remembered as a partnership. How have you gone without him?
He's always been missed, but yesterday he showed his face on the place and he was happy to see him and he wished me well and said he was sorry he's not going to be here to see today, but he was confident it was going to happen today. And I'm happy to prove him right.
What about Curtly? An absolute master, wasn't he?
Definitely a master. Very tight in the bowling, as he was in some aspect of his life. But no, he was one of them guys that just didn't want to go for many runs, take pride in what he did, how he performed. And it was an absolute joy for me to be bowling at the other end because I could then experiment a little bit more because of the way he played the game.
What made Courtney stand out from the other fast bowlers around the world?
His durability. I mean, I kept asking him for years, how did he do it? Because I mean, apart from playing for West Indies, he'll play for Jamaica in the regional competitions. Then he go over to England to play county cricket. He just kept going, kept going. I mean, I played 6 seasons of county cricket. And I thought that was maybe 4 or 5 seasons too many. And he just kept going for like 15 or 16 years. So I don't know how he did it.
That's gone. 6 out. Brian Rao takes the catch at first slip. And the Queen's Park Oval. West Indians are jumping around both on and off the field.
Courtney, what made Curtly special?
The first thing was the pride. He didn't like losing, didn't want to underperform, didn't want to let his teammates down. So he was always someone you could depend on and was very reliable to give you 100%. He had a special skill set, special asset to the game where he could just put the ball down wherever he wanted to, as consistently as he wanted to. Mean machine, I used to call him at time because you know he's going to bowl a couple of overs and the batters doesn't know where the run are going to come from. And on days when it's not good for him, I could pick it up and say, you're struggling a little bit. And he would be honest enough to say, yeah, the rhythm is off or it's just not coming up my hand right today. And then I'll say, well, okay, you just relax and I'll try and pick up the slacks. So that kind of communication was very helpful for us. But I think the pride that he brought to the table for me was the biggest standout.
And this man Ambrose can do absolutely no wrong.
As we sit here in Antigua, the wind is blowing. It's fairly common knowledge that Curtly, you always had the wind, the choice of ends.
Mm-hmm.
How frustrating was that for you?
Yeah, he's going to bowl from the hand.
I was fortunate enough, after the late great Malcolm Marshall left the scene, I was trusted to that role of choosing ends. So what I usually do, I go out and get some grass, toss it in the air to see which direction the wind's blowing. And once it's going that way, of course, all the slip fielders know where they got to go. And then when he took over as captain, I thought, this could change. But it never did. Always gave me the option. So that tells you how good we are as friends and teammates.
For me, it was what the team requires, how best we can get the best out of the players. And because I was accustomed to into the wind, so why change something that you know what to do and then leave it to the less experienced?
Curtly Ambrose, fast, hostile, accurate.
A lot of people just sort of judge me on the field of play because, of course, it's not a laughing matter. I'm a very, very proud man, and anything I do, I want to be the best at it because I love to win. And sometimes in the process, guys get roughed up.
That's gone. Well, it was the ball before that did the damage, not only to Jack Russell's hand, but in his mind.
Off the field, I'm a totally different person. Very jovial, laid back, like to have fun and enjoy myself. But some people don't know that until they've been around me off the cricket field.
Tucked away to long leg. Courtney Walsh 15 yards to his left to make. Curtly Ambrose in the middle of the wicket there. And although the throw is 2 yards off target, that was the result.
Curtly, your old mate from Northamptonshire, David Ripley, mentioned your slip fielding prowess. That's not something a lot of people would associate with you.
I mean, I love fielding the slips. It's easy work as well. You ain't got to run up and down your nose field anyway. But that was pretty good. You got pretty good hands.
What about you, Walshy?
No. Don't even go there. Don't even go there.
My slip is a 100% record.
Don't even go there.
100% record for Gloucester.
Final and third man.
100% record for West Indies. I might not have been there a lot, but I've never dropped a catch in the slip, and I've taken for West Indies and never dropped any for Gloucester. 100% record.
What about batting? Who's the best batsman?
I'm a good leave aloner, so I leave that one alone. Wonderful leave alone.
My good friend here, Cody Walsh, when I made my debut, when I look at the lineup, I see Courtney Walsh at number 9, Curtly Ambrose number 10, Patrick Patterson, number 11. So I said to his captain, you got to be joking. So that's the only time he batted ahead of me. They say I'm a rookie and I have to wait my turn.
Seniority.
So I got 20 yards knocked out the first innings, and after that, he was demoted, you know? So that tells you who the better batsman, right? I say no more.
Great mates, obviously. What was it like rooming together?
We were playing against England in the home series in 1990. And the fourth test match in Barbados, England leading 1-0, of course. And it seemed like they wasn't so sure who to select for the fourth test match. Malcolm Marshall was going to play, Ian Bishop was going to play, and Ezra Mosley, who just got in the team, Barbados. So he was going to play. So there's one spot for Courtney and myself, which we found very strange. We're senior players. They gave us a new ball to say, well, whoever come out on top may probably play that fourth test. And I said to him, you know, Cuddy, we're not going to compete against each other. We're going to do what we have to do for the team so we can win. If you get the nod, all the very best. He said the same thing to me. However, I got the nod. He was left out. But most people thought because the next game was in Antigua. They said, well, you can't leave Otambu's going to Antigua. But that's politics. But anyway, we started rooming late in the year in Pakistan. And that's when our friendship started to bond much more. And we never looked back then. So we still, people just can't seem to separate us. If we go, well, Walsh and Ambrose. Because, you know, he's a senior, so he's Walsh and Ambrose. So you got to get that right. Walsh and Ambrose.
I've roomed with lots of people, and not because he's here, but we never had any issues in the room. We had a genuine understanding from the get-go. Our friendship got better with that, and we would order together, we'd check in what we're doing, make sure the bill is set.
I do most of it.
But the reason why you might have to do more, he still owes me a drink. I might get one today.
And the West Indies bowlers, Ambrose and Walsh, just unbelievable.
Courtney Walsh and Curtly Ambrose even reflecting on our special flashback day. That is it for Sports Talk. Thank you so much for tuning in to our special flashback Saturday. Remember, Sports Talk happens every Saturday afternoon from 1 to 2 p.m. right here on the family station Love 101. As always, please enjoy your weekend and watch some sports.